Hey y'all, No here. Well, I just bought this new piece of camping equipment. It's a backpacking stool, and I bought it off of the Walmart website. You can get the same general thing on Amazon, maybe even the same company on both websites, but the name of the company is the Full Pet Moon Company, which of course is in China. And I got this one for $13.99. They're having a clearance sale currently. And normally, you think of any kind of stool or sit pad or anything like that, it's kind of a luxury item for a backpacking trip. And I would be the first to agree that, something to sit on is not the most important thing you're going to put in your pack. But this particular one, I weighed it at 18 ounces, and it's really compact. Some people might say too compact, and that's part of why I'm reviewing this, is because on the website, their dimensions may be a little bit generous to make it look a little bit bigger than it might be. So what I'm going to do today is give you the honest to goodness measurements, measured accurately right in front of you as I measure them. So to start out with, I'm going to measure the height, and so that's going to be 10 inches off the ground, which is pretty low. It's pretty low. And then the seat area, which can be a little bit misleading because the part of this seat that is going to support your weight is not as big as this right here. So when I bring my hands in, you can see that this way and this way both, this piece of seat material is bigger than the frame that's actually going to support your weight. So what I'm going to do is measure from here to here, because that's what you're actually going to be sitting on. So that measurement is only 8.5 inches. And I think on the website, they say it's something like 11 inches. So if you pull this all the way out to there, that's 11 inches, but you can't sit on this part right here that doesn't have any support underneath it. And then to turn it this direction, to get the width of what you're going to be sitting on. So that's going to be, and I'm actually going to turn it up this way so I can, and you can see what I'm really measuring too. So what I'm going to measure is the distance really from about here to here, because as it gets out here, it starts to curve away. And so really this is about the only distance that is going to be supporting your weight, because as it curves down, it's going to be curving away from your bottom. So that dimension is about 8 inches. If I measure all the way down to this vertical part, then that is the same as the distance across here, 8.5. So it's not very big. It's not very big. And just to give you an idea of what it looks like, I'm 5'11", and so this will give you a little idea of what it looks like when an actual human is sitting on top of it. Might give you an idea of how hard it is to get on and off of it too. All right, so as you can see, I barely fit on it. Okay, so I weigh about 136 pounds. And so let me turn sideways so you can see it from this direction. Okay, so you can see the front's about right here, the back's about right here. So I just barely fit on this. Okay, so anybody bigger than me, your weight's going to actually be lopping over off of the metal, over the edges of the metal part. Okay, I suppose somebody bigger could sit something like this, but it's not going to be very soft because you're going to be sitting on this metal part. If you're big enough that your bottom has to stick out over the back edge there. But for a person my size, I think this has a very good chance of working pretty well. Now, a little bit about what it's actually made out of. So on the white, they advertise it as a lightweight aluminum backpacking stool. And I agree with them, it's lightweight, but I took a magnet and tested it all the way around. And so all of the support parts are made out of steel, which I think is good because, it's going to be stronger than aluminum, but it's still light even though it's made out of steel. It's still only, the whole thing only weighs 18 ounces, and that's not bad. Okay, so now let's get a few more measurements on it. So I'm going to measure the distance across the bottom. And that is 9 inches. And I'm going to measure it at the widest part right here, just in case that's going to be a problem fitting into your pack. So at the widest point, it is 10 inches. Now, part of the beauty of this stool and probably the part that I like about this design better than anything is that this seat bottom is actually the carrying case that the stool is going to fold up into. So the way it assembles and disassembles is going to be something like this. So it folds up like this, and then it pulls apart like this. So, for some reason, they decided that they needed to put these shock cords through these legs, and I'm not really sure why, because it's just as easy to put these individual piece parts together. I don't really see the need for these shock cords. I suppose it keeps you from losing any of the parts or anything like that. And so the way it folds and unfolds is you pull it apart, you give it a twist like this. Hope you can see that all right. Then it folds up like that. And then you grasp it right here and right here, and then just close that together. And if I can find the zipper, yep, there it is. Okay, so when it's in the carrying case, that's really small. I mean, honestly, you could stick that in an outside, pocket on your pack. This should easily fit in a water bottle packet. You might even be able to fit this and a water bottle into the same pocket. So now I'm going to give you a measurement of what we've got with it folded up. So fold it up. Four and a half inches across. 10 inches long, and then the thickness I'm going to call that 1.25 inches. Now, something I'm going to try right here for the first time right in front of you. I really, rather than having to contend with all these shock cords and, trying to get this whole thing to unfold the right way every time, that seems like more of a hassle than a help to me. So what I found was, when I finagled with this thing a little bit, is that there's 2 pieces of shock cord, and each one runs around this rectangle that makes each of the scissors shaped legs on the stool. And so what you can do is just pull on this shock cord, and eventually you'll find the place where the shock cord is actually tied together. So I was tempted to cut it, but I'm not going to cut it, although once I do this, you may decide that you want to if you find that this is going to work. So what I'm going to try to do is to just untie these knots and see if it's not just as easy or easier to take apart and put together without this shock cord being in your way. So what I'm trying to do, got a little finishing nail here that I'm going to try to use to untie these knots with. Because they're in a pretty tight knot, as they should be. All right, so I got that one started. Okay, that was easier than I thought it was going to be. So now I can just pull that apart. Okay, let's see how hard the other one is to untie. yeah. All right. So then got the other one out. So that just leaves us with two of these. And I wonder if these are the same size. Nope, two of them are bigger than the other two. So two big ones and two small ones. Maybe it needs to be like this. Is that possible? So this one's going to be here. I would put this one like that. All right, so then this one is going to go here. That one is going to go there. Now, is that going to match up? Goes there and there. There and there. Okay. Give it a good push together. And voila, it does stay together. Let's see if it'll support my weight. Yeah, that stays together just fine. And probably the longer you sit on it, the better these parts are going to stay fit together. It was just a matter of figuring out the right way to start with. So the trick to remember is that you're going to have long piece here on the bottom, short piece here on the inside on the bottom, and then a short piece here across the top, and a long piece here along the top. Oh, one other thing I meant to mention is I wasn't, and still I'm not, real thrilled with what they used to make a pivot out of. It's pretty small. It's really just a rivet. But the rivet is made out of steel. It's not aluminum, although it's chrome plated, makes it kind of look like aluminum. So we'll see how this holds up under time, over time, and see if it tries to bend or anything like that. But so far, I think I'm going to leave this as it is. I was thinking about putting a shoulder bolt through there, but I think I'm going to try using this rivet and see how it acts. Let's see how it comes apart and puts back together. So, as you can see, This is quite a bit faster than trying to deal with all those shock cords. So to take it apart, I'm just going to take these two parts here, put them in the middle, put a big one there and a big one there. Where's my zipper? Here. That seems a lot easier to put together and take apart to me without these shock cords. Okay, so that does it for the review part of this video. But now I want to talk to you about the real reason that I bought this backpacking stool in the first place. And it's a subject that a lot of people have trouble with, but they're embarrassed to talk to somebody else about it. But if I can help you to either begin backpacking or be able to continue backpacking, then I'm going to swallow my pride and we're going to talk about it. We're going to have a good conversation about it. And so the subject I'm talking about is the fact that when you go on a backpacking trip, you have to be able to squat and poop in a cat hole. I mean, that's just the way it is. But you know, when you get to be my age, that's not so easy anymore. And so I have reached a point in my life where I just can't do that anymore. And so in order to be able to continue going on backpacking trips, I had to come up with an idea that I was comfortable with, that I felt like that I could depend on to be able to do that. Now, the few videos I've seen, the few people that I've heard that were actually willing to discuss the subjects, you know, they'll say, find a tree to hold on to, or maybe you could sit on a log to do it. Different things like that. But for me, that just wasn't enough, you know. I don't want to get out of the woods and be in a place where there is no tree to hold on to, or, you know, there is no log to sit on. I want to have a way that I can very confidently not have to worry about bathroom trips to the woods, okay? Now, 3 different reasons that I can think of why people have trouble squatting. And the one that is the problem for me is my knees. I've had surgery on this knee before, and so deep squatting is just not a possibility for me anymore. Another reason is that when you're squatting like that, you could lose your balance and falling backwards into your own cat hole. That's a nightmare that nobody wants to talk about or even think about. A third reason is that, excuse me, when you get to be my age, you can't just poop on demand anymore. Sometimes it takes a pretty good while to do your business. And so that's another reason that you need something that you can rely on to help you. And so here is the new and improved or updated version of the stool that I did the review off of. And you can see it's hardly anything like it was when I bought it. I pretty much stripped everything off of it. If I put this back on it, it might even look a little bit familiar, but I took this completely off. I took practically everything off. And so let me kind of show you how you would use it to start with. So it's basically got the same structure to it as it did before, but I've added these pool noodles on each bar in the front and the back. I've also replaced the straps that were on this seat with straps that are a little bit more narrow. And so what that does for you, it gives you a fairly good sized square that you can fit your bottom down onto. Now, that being said, you know, this is not necessarily going to work for everybody, but maybe it can help somebody. So the way it would basically work is it's going to turn it in this direction. And, you know, using your imagination a little bit. And maybe if I turn this way, you don't have to use your imagination so much. Yeah, that's probably better for you to picture it. So, you know, you would just dig your cat hole underneath here. Make it nice and big, but not so big that these legs are going to fall into the hole. And then you just let nature do what nature does. And I've tried this out. And for a person my size and my weight, the business went straight down into the cat hole. And, you know, you may think it would be uncomfortable sitting like this, but actually these pool noodles and these two straps that I've put underneath there are actually more comfortable for me to sit on than the stool was in the first place. So, let me kind of go over what I actually did to it. And I'm going to give you a whole lot of detail, but what you are going to need to be able to do, so you can see I've replaced the straps that were originally on the seat here with some that are more narrow in order to get a wider space in between here. And you're going to need to have access to a sewing machine or somebody that can sew. And so what you do is you just make you a loop around this bar, a loop around this bar, and then once you get your straps put on, then just take yourself a piece of pool noodle and then just cut you some slots for your strapping to go through. And that's the main modification that you have to make. Now you may notice that I've got all this orange tape and silver tape. What I did was I did that to help me be able to put it together a little more quickly. So if you're going to take it apart to put it back in your pack, then we're just going to go like this. Like this. And then on the top section, same thing. And as you can see, this is holding together really well. And then we'll take the other one. And if you do this just the way that I have done it, it will no longer fit inside this carrying case because these pool noodles are too large in diameter. But what you can do that will be even better than the carrying case that came with it, you can just put these inside a big Ziploc bag, and that will keep them dry and keep them from rusting as you're out in the weather. Now, something that I did, because I did find after I removed the shock cords from it, it was a little bit difficult to assemble. You know, it kept falling apart as I would try to put the pieces together. But I found a real easy solution to that I think is even better than the shock cord was that they put on it in China. So let me move in here a little bit closer, and I'll show you what I did. So on these two pivot scissors parts, I just took some plastic tubing and put on all four ends for, you know, both of the cross pieces. And what that does is this tubing is just the right size that when you start putting the pieces together, it'll kind of grip up here and keep it from coming apart while you're putting the rest of the thing together. And so the size tubing I used was a 1/2 inch inside diameter and 5/8 inch outside diameter. So I'll let you get a close-up of that. So that's the size vinyl tubing that I used, and it worked. It was just the right size. Couldn't ask it to have been work any better. So as I said on the review part of the video, be safe, use some common sense. You know, when you replace this strapping up here, make sure that you got something strong enough and that it's sewn well enough that it's not going to break, okay? Because if this comes unsewn, you're going to end up sitting on the ground, because these straps are what keep the stool from collapsing down flat. So I hope that will help some people out there. I doubt I'll get very many comments about it, but give me a thumbs up if you find that works for you. It's not a subject that everybody is comfortable even, you know, anonymously talking about. So I hope that it helps you a lot. God bless you, each and every one, for watching, and vaya con Dios.